Yeah, I have a good feeling about this case.
User was
You know,
moved
I
to your
mean,
channel.
I'm not
User in your channel
I'm not
timed
trying to
out.
object just to, you know, cause a ruckus. I'm just trying to make sure you get treated fairly because, this case is about you and your brother, and I want to make sure we get everything straightened out, taken care of for you.
Mainly about my brother. I mean, I'm doing this for my brother,
Yep,
for his rights that he did not get.
yep. Well, don't you worry, man. I mean, sometimes it seems like these things are going one way, but they can swing, the other. So,
User joined your channel.
Hope you're right.
You are allowed to enter at this time.
okay, thank you.
All rise for the Honorable Judge Miller.
Alright, everybody, you may be seated. We will be resuming our case. We just got back from recess. Before recess, we had Zach Wilson come up to the stand. He was direct examined and cross-examined, and that is where we were left off at. Defense, you may call your first witness to the stand.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to call the officer in question, Mr. James Morrison, to the stand.
Okay, Mr. James Morrison, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may be seated.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Morrison, could you please, for the record, state your first and last name as well as your age, please? My name is James Morrison. That's James, common spelling, Morrison, Morrison. All right. Now, what is your occupation, Mr. Morrison? I'm currently a sergeant with the Blaine County Sheriff's Office. Okay, and how long have you been an officer or a deputy? Sorry. I've been on the force for the last 15 years. 15 years. So obviously, over that period of time, you've seen a lot. Yes, sir, I have. Okay. Now, over the years that you've been a police officer, have you ever encountered a situation such as a hostage situation? Yes, sir, we have many times. Okay, and if I may ask, have you ever encountered any? Like the one that you encountered a couple days ago, where the individual drove himself back to the prison? If we're being honest, I don't think I have. A lot of times, even if the individual is presumed, or if it's confirmed that they are, if they do have a mental disability or a disorder, um, they just demand certain stuff, but never have I ever encountered someone that willingly drove themselves back to the prison. Okay, so can you verify or just explain to me the day, how your day went, such in the event that when the call came out? It was around 2:35 p.m. in the afternoon. I was on regular patrol. We got dispatched to a residence, Algonquin Island, in reference to a home invasion. The complainant states that someone's been shot. Believe that it was his mother. We believe that the individual calling was the son of Mr. Jack Wilson. We arrived on scene. The subject proceeded on foot. He was wearing an orange jumpsuit with a black hat. He was armed and was shooting initially. Scaled a few fences, then he proceeded to the 24/7, where he then took a hostage. I am trained in SWAT. I am a negotiator. And basically, yeah, I tried talking him down. He demanded that he started telling me the story about what happened, in which he stated that his wife turned his son against him because he hasn't seen him since he was 5, which was 20 years ago. And yeah, he requested for a car. We got him that. One of our snipers attempted to take a shot on him, but we were worried about the safety of the hostage, so we let him go. Proceeded to pursue him. We did have a tracker on the vehicle. He later went to the prison. Although he was at the prison, he was still presumed to be armed. A sick prison authority or staff were contacted to let them know the situation. They confirmed that the individual supposedly scaled the fence. I guess he ditched the vehicle, or sorry, he left the weapon inside of the vehicle. We detained him inside of the prison yard under the assumption that he was still armed. We took him back to the. Sorry, we took him back to the sheriff. Could I get some water, please? Your Honor.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Bailiff, you want to bring him a cup of water?
Sorry, it's very hot.
No problems. Alright, thank you. Proceed.
Okay. So, basically, we took him into custody, brought him back to the Sandy Shore Sheriff's Office, where he was going to be held until his court or trial. I was still in my SWAT gear. I had the cadet with me at the time that I was training. I remembered that I had left my flashlight in the back of the truck where he was escorted. And in the basement, it's not very well lit. So I asked him for that. And when he left, the individual, I noticed that he was reaching around and fiddling with his waistband. I went to see what he was gonna do, and then that's when I saw it was a gun. I told him to drop the gun, and in fear for my life, I fired. Wow. Mr. Morrison, I'm not an officer, but that is just tragic. I cannot even imagine what you went through. So just confirm for the court. Did you guys initially search the individual? No, we did not. With everything that was going on, it was just happening at such a fast pace, we didn't really get a chance to. He was read his rights, however, and yeah, like I said, I was just in fear for my wife. My life. You know, I have a wife and 2 kids that I. It's okay, Mr. Morrison. Just please take your time, sir. I'm sorry. I just didn't think that I was gonna go home to see him. That's understandable. Nothing further, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
Plaintiff, would you like to cross-examine Mr. Morrison?
Yes, Your Honor.
Alright, you may proceed.
Alright, Mr. Morrison. I would, Sergeant Morrison, I would like to, give you my, try to console you in this time. I know it's not, an easy decision as an officer to, make that kind of split-second decision. But also,
Thank you.
I guess my first question is going to be, how long have you been an officer?
I've been on the force for the last 15 years, sir.
Okay. All right. In reference to the cadet that you had with you, how long has that cadet been on?
It was his first day.
His first day. Okay. So.
To be more specific, sorry, he was on phase 1, which for those who don't know, it's where, in addition to being the cadet's first day, the field training officer, which at that time was myself, is required to handle the calls until they get a better understanding of how to conduct the basic calls properly, and from there they move forward. Sorry.
Okay, sir. My next question, it has come to light previously that you had some sort of friendship or relationship with the deceased wife. Is that correct?
The deceased wife, sorry?
Yes, Jack Wilson's wife. Did you have some sort of friendship or anything with that woman?
I wouldn't
Not
say it
saying
was-
romantic, but you
No,
know.
Okay. I wouldn't really say a friendship, more of an acquaintanceship, if I may.
Okay.
I saw her a few times because obviously the other individuals, we've been dispatched to our house many times just regarding the other individuals who she's been dating and stuff like that. So I have definitely seen her. You know, the town is small, population is 700 people, so.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Okay. Now, as far as your record goes as a peace officer, have you had any other lawsuits and or disciplinary action towards yourself in regarding any other cases or say inmates or any complaints made against you, anything of that nature?
No, sir. I take pride in my work. It's an absolute privilege to be an officer or in law enforcement at all, or to be any emergency personnel, because you get to serve the county every single day, and you know for a fact that you do make a difference. So.
Okay, sir. I didn't ask you all that. I just needed a simple yes or no answer.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, there was, but if I may, sir, it was one report, and it was from an individual who was intoxicated at the time.
Okay, sir. All right. So yes, you have, even though you just said no.
Did I say no?
You did.
Sorry, I stand corrected. There was one report, however, it was from an individual. Initially, it shouldn't have been on the record, but we decided that every complaint, even big or small, it does get recorded.
Okay, fair enough. Now my my next question is, so you said you've been on the force for 15 years.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So I guess let me backtrack a little bit. So from the prison to the jail, why was the deceased transported from the prison back to the jail? That's kind of I mean, usually once they, I mean, if they're going back, to prison, why would they need to be transported back to the jail?
Because that was just a local prison. We were planning to transfer him to the state prison. And if I may, that prison is, in a sense, known for corruption. We felt that, in light of his escape, maybe they have had something to do with that. I don't think it's fair to say that. That's just
Your Honor.
from what I know. I'm just letting you know that the prison is known for corruption. So we fear that he would possibly get a chance to escape again and cause even further harm to more individuals. So
Okay.
we were going to bring him to the sheriff's station where we were going to hold him until his court case, which we were then going to request that he gets transferred to the state prison.
Okay. So the prison, I'd like to know on what basis they're known for corruption and what evidence there is backing that, because I mean, if there's nothing on record, no open investigations, I'd like to strike that from the record.
Well, with all due respect, there is a few cases on the record. The first being with an individual. I'm not sure if you would know him, but he's basically been a problem to the county and the city, from what I heard. His name is Rupert Smith. He's
Okay, sir.
seven-
That's all irrelevant at this point. Anyway, we can move on.
Objection, Your Honor.
Basis of that objection.
Your Honor, with all due respect, what my client is trying to state is relevant. It's proving, with what he stated previously, that the prison is corrupt.
Objection, Your Honor. There's no basis on just a statement or accusation that the prison is corrupt. There's no evidence to support it.
With all due respect,
I would like to
we
just-
have it on record.
Strike it from the record.
Are you striking it from the record? Does defense object to that?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Alright, proceed.
Okay. So anyway, sorry to get off track there, officer. So you've been an officer for 15 years. I'll get back to that point. In that 15 years, would it be safe to assume that you've searched many individuals before entering either your patrol vehicle and or the jail, whether they were brought from, say the prison or, just somebody that you apprehended on the street? I mean, is that a safe assumption? As far as officer safety goes.
Sorry, could you just please repeat the question? I didn't understand it clearly.
Okay, so basically, in your years of experience as being a peace officer, wouldn't you, agree that, one important step that's probably universally known as far as policing goes, I'm not a police officer, but I would assume that it is whether or not, they're coming from a prison or, whether or not it's somebody you apprehended off the street, isn't it, a reasonable, assumption that you would, in fact, search that individual prior to entering your facility and or jail for weapons, contraband, things like that?
Yes, that is true, sir, but with all due respect, you have to understand that the situation, a lot was going on at the time. We have one individual that was deceased, if I can. There's an individual that was deceased. We were short-staffed at the time, and it was just a chaotic moment. We did the best we could regarding our training. Our training kicked in, and
Okay, sir. So I'm talking about before the individual was deceased. If you're talking about the same individual, but before he was deceased, because
No, I meant the female, his wife.
Okay.
She was deceased, so it was a chaotic moment. We were
So, if I'm understanding this right, the fact that somebody was deceased made it so that you forgot a pretty critical aspect in your
what I'm trying
in
to
your
get
normal
across.
training. I mean, I just is if I were a peace officer, I would want to make sure that I stay safe, and even under times of duress, peace officers are held to a higher standard of being able to follow protocol and still conduct their jobs properly. So if there was in fact a weapon on the deceased individual, not the wife but the individual, Jack Wilson, wouldn't it be fair to say that if there was, that may have been overlooked due to maybe lack of job performance?
Well, guilty as charged. We did forget to search him, but like I said before, sir, you have to understand with the situation that was going on, it was a hectic time. We were trying to do everything by the books, and when the situation's playing in your head, all that goes through your mind is basically neutralize the threat. We gave the individual many opportunities to stop. Your Honor, could I have some more water again, please?
You may. Bailiff, you're gonna give him another glass of water, and if you could grab me a glass of water too.
Okay, sir. So I realize that that in this situation you may have you may have overlooked something, but there are plenty of other officers, and I'm assuming other documented cases that in that same situation would have still searched that subject. So that aside, whether you did or did not search that subject, my next question is, have we ran the serial number on the firearm that you found with the subject or near the subject?
I cannot say for sure because the protocol is that when an officer's weapon is fired, we have a team called what is it? The SIU, the Serious Incident Unit. They arrive on scene. They get dispatched immediately. Arrive on scene, and they secure the officer's weapon, and then the officer is carried away to a secured facility for questioning. So I'm not sure what the examiners found or what they noted down, if they ran the weapon or not, but
Okay. Because what I would like to try to prove in this case is whether that weapon came from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department as some sort of issued weapon, or maybe a reserve weapon, or whether or not it was, registered to anybody, say the deceased, or maybe anybody that he would have known. But I find it very hard to believe that a weapon could have gotten from prison, where unless everybody in that county does not know how to do their job. No offense.
Objection,
No
Your
offense,
Honor,
sir.
badgering
No
the
offense.
witness.
No offense.
What was the objection? What was the basis?
Badgering the witness, Your Honor.
Plaintiff, do you object to that objection?
Yes, I object. I'm not badgering anybody individually. I'm just making an assumption on, if you could let me continue. It's not going to be badgering, I promise, Your Honor.
We will proceed to the next question. I will tell you if that objection is overruled or not.
Okay, so let's see if I can refrain. So the point I'm getting at is, why would the prison the prison officials, and then the jail officials at the county jail, somewhere in between, he may have been searched twice. I find it kind of hard to believe, and I'll try to refrain from saying that nobody knows what they're doing, but it just seems really hard to believe that, one, the prison officials, and two, the sergeant here and his cadet, neither one of them, in the midst of things, thought to search the individual. Not saying that he was possessing the firearm, but I just find it really hard to believe that neither one of them, between the prison or the sheriff's department, searched the subject before entering, from one facility to another, after he willingly turned himself in to the prison. So I would really like to have a record of the serial number of the firearm that was, accused to have been found by the individual that is now deceased, because he was reaching for said firearm.
But the plaintiff had all the time in the world to request for that piece of evidence to be processed to the courts. It is not here today, therefore it is inadmissible at this time.
Objection, Your Honor. I would like to object. If that's the case, I did request that from the department that takes care of that, the investigation department, and they haven't been able to get back to me yet. So if we're gonna dismiss due to that, I would like a retrial due to lack of due trial.
With all due respect, Your Honor, the plaintiff is simply trying to stall the case. It was his responsibility
Objection.
to ensure
That's
that all the evidence was processed in
Order.
beforehand.
objection. That's an
Order.
accusation. False accusation.
It is the plaintiff's or whoever's side it is on job to get all evidence pre-trial, so therefore you do not get a retrial due to you not having this information.
Well, then I would like to declare a mistrial while we start a new trial against the company. I mean, because if we don't have any evidence on what that serial number comes back to, and that's out of my control because I haven't received a reply from that investigation department, then I would move to say that that's a pretty good indication on this case of why this case should not go forward, because that's a pretty critical piece of evidence, and I did try to get that.
When did you put this in? When did you put the order in?
I put it in about 2 days after the incident occurred.
And this is how many days after the incident occurred?
2 days. 2 days after the incident occurred.
Court cases.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes, continue.
To my knowledge, being a district attorney for the last 20 years. Well, first off, can I ask if the plaintiff personally went there and put in the order, if he emailed them?
You may.
I personally went there because that's how I do my work. That's why I'm one of the highest regarded attorneys in Los Santos.
Okay, irrelevance, with all due respect. Now, from my knowledge, it shouldn't have taken them longer than that time to get back to you, much less to release it to you, especially if it was a piece of evidence used for a crime. So, once again, I'm going to state that it was your responsibility to ensure that you had all evidence before the trial. An innocent man's life is at stake here, Your Honor, and I don't think it's fair that we should be wasting the court's time.
Okay, Your Honor. So, if we can proceed if it's just noted in the records that the serial number was attempted to be matched to its prospective owner, but was not in time for the case at no fault of the plaintiff. If we could note that, then just note that in the judge's opinion, that would be sufficient for me.
Vince, would that be sufficient for you?
Approved, Your Honor.
So, after the prison personnel dropped this individual off at your holding facility, I kind of want to get a feel for what the mental state of that individual was.
Objection.
Basis of the objection.
Clarification. The prison guard did not drop the personnel off. As my client stated, he was the one that dropped them off personally. And he was also accompanied by 2 other officers, 1 trooper and 1 deputy.
Objection.
Proceed to the next.
Clarification. From my understanding, he was transported from the prison to the sheriff's department holding cell.
That is correct, Your Honor, but I object under the terms of on the base of what the plaintiff stated. It was not a prison personnel that escorted the individual to the jail or the holding facility. It was my client himself, followed by a trooper as well as another deputy.
Okay, and we can add that to the record. That's fine.
Right.
Was still the assumption that one of those officers should have possibly searched him, as I previously stated. Whether it was a prison official or those officers, I just want that to stand.
Proceed.
Okay, so now that we've got that all clarified, regardless, when the deceased, Jack Wilson, was transported by whomever, whether it be prison officials or law enforcement officers, to the holding facility at the jail in the county there, what was his state of mind, his mindset? I'm just trying to get an idea for the court on how his mindset was. Was he aggressive? Was he belligerent? Was he cooperative? I'm just trying to get an idea of my deceased defendants or deceased plaintiff's state of mind at that time.
Well, he was very talkative, very confident, or cocky. Sorry, overconfident, I should say. When one of the officers did spot him while we arrived at the prison, was taunting the officer. I guess he felt as if it was basically he was home free but that wasn't the case. But he was very talkative all the way from the prison all the way to the holding facility.
Okay. And would you say that was like a friendly talkative or an aggressive talkative?
It was mutual.
Mutual. Okay. All right. So he didn't try to, detach himself from the situation, as in, fleeing from anybody, resisting anybody, anything like that?
No, he was not.
Okay. And I guess my last question, so assuming that, it's 2018 and most jails and or prisons have monitoring, video, audio, or both in most cells, or hallways, even in the cells, things like that. Do you have any sort of video evidence of the interaction that happened before before Jack Wilson became deceased, as far as anything on video in that cell or any audio recording from the hallway that would shed a little more light on the situation that happened between the cadet, the sergeant here, and the Jack Wilson?
Yes, we do. We only, just to clarify, we only have video, but we don't have audio. We've been meaning to get around to that. I personally put in a request for the sheriff to do so, and just the board. However, they have yet to do so regarding the new vehicles that they recently purchased. Just the budget isn't really there. But the SIU guys did review the video many times. They conducted their investigation, and I was cleared, for the record, of any wrongdoing.
Okay. Is there any definitive evidence that the individual, the weapon came from his waistband in that video?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Is there any definitive evidence that the weapon could have come from the waistband of that individual?
Sorry, is there any definitive evidence that the weapon...
Okay, let me clarify. So, whether or not the shooting was justified, is what we're trying to determine. But, whether or not you feared for your life, is the weapon, known and 100% known to have come from the individual that was transported to your facility from his person, or is that still unclear according to the video?
It's unclear. Obviously the cell isn't big, especially since it's a high or a max cell for the most violent individuals that we take into custody. I guess I was kind of obstructing, not intentionally. My back was turned, and with all the gear that I had on, it's really big. So when I was going towards the individual,
objection, Your Honor. I want to clarify. You said you guess, or you are sure? I just want to get that on the record.
Sorry, for which one?
You guess you were not trying to obstruct it, or for sure you were not trying to obstruct it? Yes, that's what you said, sir.
Okay, sorry, I guess a lot. I was not intentionally meaning to obstruct the camera, but to my knowledge, basically, with the amount of gear that I had on, and with the room being so small, I guess I did that anyways, and it didn't really capture the part. It pretty much captured my back, and it captured me struggling with the individual, and then me pushing away, and then me having to open fire.
Okay, and my final question: you stated that the cell was dark, right? Like there wasn't very much light?
No, I stated that the basement was dark. It didn't really have much light, which is why I instructed my cadet.
Is the cell located in the basement?
It is, yes. Certain parts of the basement are dark.
Okay, so when your cadet went to get that flashlight, first of all, isn't it required to have lighting in all jail facilities?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
I object to that objection, Your Honor. It's not hearsay, it's a standard at which jail facilities should be held.
Objection overruled. Proceed.
Okay. So, it is fair to say that jail facilities should be well lit. Doesn't have to be a spotlight, but, you know, there has to be lighting. You can't just throw somebody in a jail cell, you know, that's as lit as a dungeon, correct? Were you having problems with the electrical, or, you know, I'm just trying to get a basis on why it might have been so dark?
Well, like I said, sir, we aren't the richest sheriff's office in the county, much less the world. And like I said, with the recent spending
I
of
object.
the new vehicles. Under what grounds, Your Honor?
I object that I'd like to be struck from the statement, whether or not they're the, quote, richest sheriff's county or not. That definitely needs to be something that is addressed. I mean, that's got to be something that's in their priority spending.
Objection,
I would
Your
assume.
Honor. It's out of my client's control. May I remind the court that he is a sergeant. Although he's considered a supervisor, he is not considered a commanding officer.
Objection, being as high up as a sergeant, would he not have an obligation to either take my client to another cell that's more well lit, or have the issue of the lighting resolved, or maybe transported back to the prison until that issue could be resolved?
Objection again, Your Honor. Hearsay. Once again, it is out of my client's control for what happens with the facility.
Objection, Your Honor. That's not hearsay, because this individual just stated that the lighting wasn't
Your Honor,
good.
the plaintiff is simply trying to throw the court off by claiming or assuming that my client has any control of the spending or the funding that goes into the department.
Your Honor,
That
can you
is
strike
simply
that
up
from
to
the
sheriff
record?
and the board.
It was hearsay. The sergeant does not have, though he may be a supervisor, he does not have control over what goes on in there. Let the record know that. Continue on.
Okay. I would just like to object to that statement. Just for the part that whether or not he has control over whether, you know, obviously somebody comes and fixes it that day or not. Should he have not? The question I'm trying to get at is, should he have not, you know, either moved him to a more well-lit cell, or maybe, you know, taken him upstairs in handcuffs where he could still be detained, you know, I mean, reasonably.
All I'm going to say is an officer has to do, that they're given what they're given, they have to use what they have to use.
With all due respect, Your Honor, I don't see that as a valid excuse, but I'll move on. That's okay. So, is it reasonable that, one, the video didn't capture everything because, one, you were in front of it, which may or may not have been, you know, a fault of yourself. I don't think anybody's disputing whether or not, you know, that was an issue, but couldn't it be assumed that the weapon had been planted there at the same time that your cadet had moved away? I just find it kind of strange, and, you know, I'm not a police officer. I'm not trying to, you know, prove anybody guilty, but the fact that, one, the camera was blocked, two, the lighting wasn't very, you know, well lit, and three, there was only one officer there. So it's your story versus my deceased defendant's story. Yeah, I mean, do you have any anything to say about that?
Okay. Alright. I see where this is going here. If I may speak freely.
I object real quick. I'd like to strike that first statement from the record. I see where this is going here exactly.
that may be strike from record.
Okay, you can
Permission to
continue,
speak
Sergeant.
Speak freely, Your Honor.
Permission granted.
Mr. What was your name again? I'm sorry.
It's Shafter.
Mr. Shafter. Obviously, we've both been doing this for a long time. And, you know, I have to say, you're pretty good at your job, just like I'm pretty good at my job. And I can almost ensure that when we both go to work, our intention isn't to basically do something which is going to stick with us for a long time or for the rest of our lives. Okay? Because that's what happened to me. I didn't want to use my weapon. Okay? But my life was in jeopardy here. And that individual gave me no choice when he pulled a weapon on me. So if you want to sit here and accuse me for defending myself and going home to my family, then guilty as charged.
Sir, Your Honor, I object. Just to clarify.
What's your objection?
The officer here said that the weapon was on the ground and the individual was searching around for it, but he just claimed that it was pulled from the waistband. So, kind of conflicting stories.
Objection, Your Honor. Let the record show that my client specifically stated at the beginning that he got into a tussle with the individual after he noticed that he was attempting to pull a weapon from the behind him. At no point did my client state that the weapon was on the ground.
We'll just dismiss this issue as nothing happened. Strike it off the record. And are there any further questions from the plaintiff?
No, sir. No, Your Honor. I think we'll arrest our cross-examining
Alright.
for now.
So, the jury will step off and they will come back. Either side will need 50% of the votes, or if the jury proposes a new idea on, like, as the jury proposes a different value amount for the stewing, they will let you know that. Right?
May I step down?
Yes.
Thank you. Your Honor, may I request for a closing statement before the jury makes their final verdict?
You may.
As I wish to, also, Your Honor. Okay, Your Honor. So at this time, I would just like yourself and the jury to realize that one, my deceased that I'm representing, Jack Wilson, he, one, willingly turned himself into prison, and also from his brother Zach here, that we know that he had a rough and abusive childhood. He may have not had the cognitive ability to be able to, one, get, he went back to prison willingly, and then he may not have had the cognitive ability to smuggle a weapon that he must have obtained when he was in prison, got past the transporting officers, and then into another secure facility, and then attempted to use it on the sergeant here. So I just want to, I just want it to be known that, as you heard from his brother here before, he was a good-hearted individual. He did attend church, I believe even in prison. He communicated with his brother. Nothing, seemed out of the ordinary as far as we heard. And, that this individual did not have the either cognitive ability or the
User
will
joined your channel.
to actually decide to pull a firearm on another officer in a secure facility, or the ability to get it in there. That's going to be my closing statement, Your Honor, and the jury.
Alright. Defense, you may state your closing statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, regarding what the plaintiff has stated, although the individual did encounter a rough childhood, we all encountered that as well. Life isn't easy, okay? But two things that you're given in life is options. Well, correction, one thing that you're given in life is an option. You can either overcome, what you experienced in the past and try to make good of it, or you could just let it basically eat you up inside and refuse to seek counsel. It is no secret to the court regarding what my client stated here today that the correctional facility was corrupt. That is also probably why my client basically made the decision, the executive decision, to transfer Mr. Morris, or correction, Mr. Wilson, to the sheriff's office rather than keeping him there, as he feared for the safety of everyone else, including his. When my client was made with a difficult decision, a split-second decision, most of us don't encounter that. He did what he felt that he needed to do to protect himself, to protect everyone else in this county, which could have been including his family. Because from what we know, Your Honor, the individual, his mindset was to kill. Although he basically played a victim and proceeded to go back to the prison, where he's probably given special treatment, and which they probably aided. It's not confirmed, but there's always probably, where they possibly aided his escape. There's really no justification for what he did. So I'm gonna ask the jury to don't fault an innocent man of doing something which he felt was best for all of us, but look at it as the fact that the threat is no longer there. And that was the decision of the deceased, Mr. Jack Wilson. That is all, Your Honor.
Alright. The jury and the judge will now leave the room, and we will be back when the jury has made their decision.
All rise.
For the Honorable Judge Miller.
Alright, you may be seated. Alright. So, I have talked to the jury and they have came to their decision. It was a very close case, but with the defense won with 7 votes, 7-5. They're non-guilty.
Thank you.
Just let it known to the court that we will be appealing this decision.
We will.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good case, everyone. That was long, but I think it was worth it.
All right. Well,
Give Melvin an Oscar.
we didn't get the decision
Hold on.
that we wanted, but
This is gonna be outside.
don't worry. We can go ahead and appeal it. Okay.
Are you gonna be on tomorrow?
We'll appeal
Alright,
this
yeah,
for
never
sure.
mind.
We should have won.
Yeah, we should have, but you know what? It's okay, man. We'll go ahead and appeal this decision. Exactly. I think this was
That's bogus, man.
I know.
Yeah, I call it
I'm with you, man.
I feel like that judge was just on the cops.
I'm
I
with
think
you,
that
not
judge was
not just because you're paying me either way, but because
hell, dude, I'm not.
no, sir.
Hell,
I
dude,
mean,
I love you as a brother, but dude, you're
no, but
you're
listen,
my only brother.
listen, man. No, I got you, but
Hell.
you know, I'm with you not just because you're paying me either way, but the whether we win or lose, but the fact that we're gonna appeal this. Okay, this is gonna come back to
Oh,
court
yeah.
again. All right, so just don't let it end here. Don't think that we've been defeated. We put up a good fight. We might have left out a few crucial details. Yep.
Cuffs.
Yep. Well,
He was in freaking cuffs. How
I know.
To freaking fight back?
I know. We'll what we'll do is we'll try to get the evidence for the serial number, and then also a copy of the video recording for ourselves,
Dude,
so that
freaking
What's that reporter guy's name?
Your brought that.
Yeah. Well,
You guys got the you got the
I'm
there's
using recorder.
this is actually a pretty
using
big case, so
recording too, so I
we're
use
gonna
full
have to.
judge.
All right, man. Be ready to face the media. Okay. And then you're gonna be. I know, but just stay behind me. Let me make all the statements. Okay. We don't want anything that's gonna be. Alright,
Just as
yep.
long as they don't shove that microphone in my mouth. If they do, I will bite it.
No, as your attorney, I would advise you not to do that.
Well, if I get hungry enough, I might.
I know.
Lunch
We'll go get lunch after this. Okay, I'll pay you with some of the money you're paying me. I'll buy your lunch. But
Gee.
at this time, we're gonna go out there. Just let me make the statement. You stand right behind me, and we'll go from there.
I
Okay.
couldn't find the scene.
Just don't say anything because we don't.
Sir, can I get a Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Wilson, Mr. Wilson.
I will be, guys. I'll be addressing all statements.